Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jack and Joe show. We did not go live on deadline day as was planned, given the tragic events that happened on Saturday against Blackpool. Paul Parish passing away after suffering what was a cardiac arrest in the Hammersmith end. It was a tough day for everyone. Performance is irrelevant. Result is irrelevant. And Joe, it's nice to have you here. But we're going to start the video by talking about a really sad matter here.
Yeah, we didn't think it was appropriate to post any video for a while. Really, just a really sad day, and as you say, it puts everything into perspective. You know, we care about football so much, but when something like this happens, football's meaningless, and so it felt silly. And I think the podcast did a great job in those circumstances. But we just thought it's not worth us going live on deadline day. We will come on to talk about it, but yeah, it was a hard day to be a Fulham fan. One thing I will say is I thought it was great to see the Fulham family come together online, and it was wonderful to see some of the memories that were shared of Paul, who I didn't know myself, but who sat in the Hammersmith end, and I did recognise some of his family who were posting tweets. I did recognise them, and it was just a horrible day. And fingers crossed that the club will do something to remember him. Had some great messages from the players came through on social media, and I know that the Huddersfield game was planned to be a memorial day for anyone the club has lost. It may end up that they decide to do something in particular for Paul Parish on that day.
Just a really tough one. When the players went off the pitch, that's probably when you thought, oh, God, this does not look good whatsoever. And our thoughts go out to Paul's family and friends, and hopefully the club will do a great job in commemorating all the lives lost, and especially Paul's, when we do play Huddersfield Town. There are things to talk about. Deadline day was frantic, to say the least. In fact, it was a day in which I was expecting almost next to nothing. And then Liverpool, the sharks they are, were swarming around Fabio Carvalho. And this probably turned out to be one of the most iconic evenings of Fulham Twitter ever. And I'm thinking iconic Twitter evenings within the football community were the 2 or 3 days when the Super League was announced. And a couple of deadline days before where we signed 5 players. But this really took the biscuit. And Fulham making Liverpool look very, very silly. Joe, talk us through the day.
Same as you, thought not much is going to happen today. You know, Fulham, the way that they do business, often a deadline day signing creeps in. So at the back of your mind, you're thinking, oh, it would be great if we could get a surprise one in. And, you know, we love deadline day. So we were both saying that throughout the day. But I didn't actually think it was going to happen. And Carvalho seemed like the big story. It was just whether the move would happen or not, or whether it would wait till the summer. I think we've all come to terms with the fact that, sadly, he's not going to be here after this season, no matter what, whether it's a loan back or whether what's actually happened in terms of just him seeing out his contract. I think what was good about this was the way it happened from a fan perspective. I'm not here to talk about what's the best deal for the club, because we don't know what the actual deal was, okay? But from a fan perspective, we sat there all day. We watched Liverpool fans boast and go on about how excited they are to take our star boy, effectively. And then it fell through last minute. And I just thought it was brilliant because I think we deserved a little bit of luck. And I know it doesn't change much in terms of he was always going to be here till the end of the season and then go. But the mentality thing of he hasn't got a move yet now. Things would have to be re-agreed. He's not a lone player that's just come back to help us out. I think it's different, and I prefer it this way. We also have to talk about the fact that they then decided to still give us Nico Williams on loan, because that went through in a signing that Jack, think is a very good one.
I love this signing. I love it. Nico Williams, I think I'm right in saying, played a bit of a part in Liverpool's season last season when they had all those defensive injuries. I believe he played against us both home and away. I think he came off the bench at Craven Cottage. It's not a player who I've seen an awful amount of, but I'm going to do my research before Saturday's game against Manchester City. And we have to obviously talk about Denis Odoi leaving. It's a huge moment for the club because it really didn't hit me that he left until probably the day after, thinking, oh my God, we're not actually going to have Denis Odoi at Fulham anymore. He's just this stalwart who just always is there. And if there's a player injured, he'll come in and play. And I actually thought on Saturday, obviously, performance, I didn't think he played very well. And actually, to have a backup right back in Nico Williams behind Kenny Tete fills me with a lot of comfort, thinking actually we've got two really good options at right back now. And I'll be interested to see if he starts on Saturday. But this is a player who can come in, slot in at right back to the end of the season. He's got a lot to prove. Can he break into that Liverpool first team next season ahead of a Trent Alexander-Arnold, who is one of the best right backs in the world? So what do you think of this signing? Are you happy? And tell us about your thoughts of Denis Odoi, not your favourite Fulham player over the last couple of years, but an absolute legend of the club. You have to say that.
Yeah. So on Nico Williams first, I think it's a great signing. It's depth for right back. It's depth for left back, where he can also play. I mean, I think it's clear to see that he's here to be the starting right back until Tete is back, and then they will both fight for the place. And it's one of those positions we had to address. You know, Odoi's gone, and I'll come on to that in a second. Christie's gone, Fossey's gone, Stephen Sessegnon's gone. You know, all the right backs at the club, other than Tete and a few youth players below under 23 level, have gone. And it's a signing we needed. He's not cup tied, which is a bonus for Saturday when we play Man City, which we'll also talk about in a minute. But it's someone that has got Premier League experience. He plays internationally for Wales. He's done quite well there recently. Got a goal in a game they won 5-1. I can't remember who the opposition was. And he often links up with Harry Wilson on that right-hand side. So I'm hoping that in the games before Tete is back, before we find out maybe who's the favourite to start, because at this moment, I don't know. I don't know how good Nico Williams is going to be. It'll be interesting to see their link-up play, and I'm looking forward to it. Odoi, I think people will know that ability-wise, he has frustrated me, but I would never, ever doubt his commitment to the club that he's shown in the 5.5 years he was here. Seemed to really get the fans, and was always entertaining. And he's given us one of the best Fulham moments ever with that header. He's also given me one of the biggest potential just meltdowns ever with the sending off in the playoff final, because I really thought that we'd blown it. Just one of those where, similar to you, until it had gone through, I didn't think, I was thinking, Odoi's been great, but I won't be that sad when he goes, sort of in the back of my head. And then when he's gone, it's like, oh my goodness, that's it. The Blackpool game was the last time we'll ever see him. I think it was a game that summed him up, because for the first 15, 20 minutes, I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was winning everything. He was attacking really well. And then he had a few lackadaisical moments, which I think sums up his style. It's he's mistake prone, but he was such an interesting footballer, very different to the sort of footballer we've had before. As you say, could play in any position we asked of him, whatever league it was, whatever cup it was. He would always step up and try his best. And I could never give him enough praise for that. And maybe I should have praised him more when he was at the club, because I know sometimes I did give him some stick, sometimes rightly, sometimes maybe harshly. But one thing's for sure, great servant to the club. And, it doesn't happen that much with Fulham players being here for this long. We've got others like Kearney and Ream, who's been here ages, but it doesn't happen that often. So when it comes around, it's great to see someone show that loyalty. And fingers crossed we see him pull up some trees for Club Brugge and maybe get some European football.
That would be something if he pops up in the Champions League next season. They'll probably draw someone like Chelsea or City or Liverpool, and he might return to one of those English clubs and score a wonderful front post header to flick it on and get in the back of the net. Denis Odoi has always been a player who's entertained from his debut, with that flick against Newcastle, to the goal against Derby, to the red card against Aston Villa, to the crossbar celebrations in both playoff finals. I mean, he does a job. I mean, he played centre back in that playoff final, and up until when he got sent off, he played fantastically, and that was, I say it all the time, one of the best Fulham performances I've ever seen from an actual team, from a starting 11. And plus, obviously, who came off the bench and did a job for us that day as well, Ollie Norwood and Thomas Callas of the like. So yeah, we'll be sadly missed. But I do think it was time to move on. If it had gone up again and then Odoi's, like playing right back here and there, it makes me uncomfortable.
It's deja vu, isn't it, if that happened? Because we've been trying that since 2018.
Yeah,
it doesn't work. Sadly, he's clearly a great guy and very capable at this level. I just don't think he's a Premier League footballer.
From my understanding, I thought that Club Brugge would sign him on a pre-contract.
Yeah.
Therefore, signing him in the summer, so we'd still have him for the rest of the season. And I was sort of like, okay, so we're not going to sign anyone. And then it did turn out he's actually gone. So Nico Williams comes in. Let's just talk about that moment where Liverpool fans got really, really upset with us. And, the whole Twitter space and some Fulham fans getting in the Twitter space and mugging Liverpool. But it's brilliant. It's so funny. And yet again, Liverpool fans feeling aggrieved and upset when, mate, you're second in the Premier League. You've got one of the best managers in the world, one of the best squads in the world, but yet you're crying over an 18-year-old who you've only watched 8-minute compilations on YouTube of. It really does baffle me.
I think the reason that, because let's face it, we're all sort of resigned to the fact that Carvalho goes at some point, and it was just a matter of when. And I think a lot of Liverpool fans think that we were almost like taking the piss a bit, and that's because we think that he's now going to sign a contract and stay. That's not the case. I think it's because it was Liverpool. We've had so many sagas with them down the years. Dempsey, they unsettled him when we were possibly going to get Henderson the other way. I think that was. We've had the moment with Elliott, and now the same thing was potentially happening again. And it's just, it feels like, even though financially this may not have been the best deal for us, it feels like as fans we almost got one over on them for the time being at least. And to then get Nico Williams in as well. If you listen to Nico Williams's interview on the official site, he says that he got a call from his agent at about 9 p.m. On deadline day. So I'm thinking, Jack, I wonder if the aim was for Odoi to be a pre-contract until Nico Williams came up in the negotiations for Carvalho. And then we decided to bring him in and say, Odoi, you can go now if you'd like. It was a good day. It was really dramatic one, considering not that much happened. A few others got loaned out. Deadline day always brings something, though. There's always something. And, Carvalho, would I have found it difficult if he'd gone and he'd been loaned back? Yes, I don't know. And this is not even a debate worth having now because it hasn't materialised. It can't materialise. But I don't know if I'd have been happy with that. When there's other committed players at the club longer term. So am I being a bit of is it a bit ironic that I'm now saying, or moronic even, that I'm saying, I want him to start every game, for the rest of the season, when it's almost the same situation. But I guess football is a fickle game. And, if that paperwork went in 5 minutes earlier, he's a Liverpool player right now, we're probably having a big debate, but it hasn't. So we've just got to take it as it comes. And as of right now, he's a Fulham player, not for long, but we've got to enjoy it while it lasts because he's clearly destined for the very, very top.
Yeah, and the debate about loaning him back and would we play him, I think I'd feel quite uncomfortable about the situation given the fact he's already devoted his next few years to Liverpool. But actually, he's integral to the way we play. You have to play him in that 10. I don't think anyone suits that position like Fabio Carvalho, the way he scores and assists. I think Kearney right now in the deeper position is working a treat. We've got John Mikel Seri to come back, and Natty Chabs is going to be floating around somewhere as well. But I think in terms of Fabio Carvalho, he's suited to that 10 position really well in this system we've got with Wilson and Carvalho on each side and Mitrovic down the middle. So it would have been weird if he sort of came back in and pretended like nothing had happened. But really, nothing has happened. He hasn't signed for anyone. And if we were to go and sign on a new contract now, it'd be the most remarkable thing ever. But unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen. And yeah, you're right in the fact that we could have got 8 million plus add-ons for for the deal, and that would have been a nice chunk of money. But I think having him and then him being a part of that promotion team, an integral part of a promotion team, hopefully, if Fulham were to go up, will probably do wonders for his confidence. And I think if it does go to a tribunal or we get a deal in place, I think Fulham will extract the most amount of money for Fabio Carvalho as is humanly possible out of Liverpool. And I think we've really mugged off Liverpool. The fact that they basically let us avoid FFP issues by making us pay for Wilson this summer as well. It's just ridiculous. We've basically gone, oh yeah, cheers for that. Yeah, no, we'll give you Carvalho. Oh no, oh you're too late. Oh, but we'll have Nico Williams. And it's like, how has it played into our favour so much? But a very, very weird deadline day, one of which I don't think we'll ever see again in terms of, you think back to, we were hanging on to Sessegnon for dear hope and Ross McCormack, and they ended up leaving. I think McCormack was quite early on in the window and Sess was right at the end. But this was bizarre with Fabio Carvalho. But I'm glad he stayed. We'll see what happens. I mean, you never know in football. It's a funny game. Let's get on to, can Fulham shock Manchester City? I think yes, but of course I'm extremely sceptical. Joe, let's talk about the Etihad. Fulham bringing a lot of fans to this one, and hopefully we'll make a lot of noise.
Yeah, fantastic. Credit to everyone going. I can't make this one, but I've been to the Etihad, and I think that day we sold out, but I wasn't expecting to sell out again, or near enough. It looks like there's just a few left in the upper tier. The Etihad is the Etihad. It's the one place that I think you go, and you're right now anyway, the last few years, and you're fearing the worst. But it's the cup. They're not going to play the full, battalion that they've got available to them. And I'm sure we might not play ours. I'm sure it might be a bit of a mixture. For example, I'd think that Gazaniga will probably start in goal ahead of Rodak and a bit of rotation up front. It might be time for Muniz to bag at the Etihad. But it's one of these things where it's a game where we're all going in hoping that we can pull a result, but it's almost nice that the worst case scenario, we get knocked out. I don't think anyone's going to be too down. No. It's one of those things where I want us to see us put in a good performance. If we can get something brilliant, that'll be amazing, an amazing result. So let's talk about, I guess, what team, alluded to it a bit there. What team would you play? How strong would you go? Would it be a mixture, or would you put out a complete changed or complete first team?
I think you've got to be careful with this one because we're playing a Millwall team on Tuesday who drew 0-0 a couple of nights ago against Preston. Preston missed a penalty. Millwall got a really good win over West Brom, who sacked Villa and Ishmael. We don't even have time to talk about that. I'm sure we'll get into it at another stage with Steve Bruce looking like he's going to take over at West Brom. Amazing turn of narrative there at West Brom. But let's talk about the team. I'd go Gazza in goal, Williams debut, go on, mate. And then centre-back pairing of Tosin and... maybe a bit of Michael Hector in there or something.
Yeah, I'm thinking a bit of Big Heck.
Yeah, but I would play Tosin. I think he's important for us. And then left back, was Robinson back in time? I'm not sure. Maybe Joe Bryan slots in there. Could play Williams at left back and then Tete at right. No, Tete's injured, isn't he? My bad. So Bryan comes in there, and then I'd probably play Harrison Reed, TC, and Carvalho. I don't really see a reason why we wouldn't. And maybe John Mikel Seri could come in and we could play Kenny in the 10 or something. But I think Carvalho is a key player for us who's going to make a zip going forward. And then I probably would start Wilson, Cabano, and Mitrovic. And you know what? If we do go 2-0 down at half time, we can take off Mitrovic and rest him for Millwall. We can take off Wilson or Cabano or Tosin or someone of that ilk just to get some fresher legs in. I'm not sure how many subs you get in the FA Cup. If it is 5, is it 5? And then that could really play into our favour.
Yeah, we had 5 at Bristol City, didn't we? I think.
Well, there we go then. And even if we go to extra time, we get a 6. So that's my team. I want to go strong because there's nothing to lose, and I want to see how Marcus Silva can go against one of the best teams in the world in Pep Guardiola's City.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with pretty much the entire team. I think the only thing that I would change is that I don't think I'd go with that midfield 3. I think I'd put a little bit of Natty Chab seasoned in there next to Harrison Reed, just because, let's face it, it's Man City. I think it's a bit, maybe slightly more cautious. It'd be good to see a couple of other guys get game time. If not, people like Muniz, Onoma, Caballero coming back. He's got to play at some point. I know some people online won't like that, but he's a Fulham player. I'd like to see him get a go at some point, even if it's just off the bench. It wouldn't surprise me if Knockout played some minutes. He's played a little bit recently. I mean, it's just all the 2019-20 boys are coming back with a vengeance. So, what do you think the score is going to be, Jack?
Manchester City 2, Fulham 3 after extra time.
Fantastic.
Muniz is gonna score in extra time. What about you?
I'm gonna go for a 1-1 draw where we equalise late on and take it to pens ref, and then Gazzaniga saves from Gabriel Jesus, and we win 5-4 on penalties. Muniz redeems himself, by the way, by getting one. It's not like Leeds.
No, it would be quite something, and I wouldn't put it past us the way in which we were playing previously, the goals we were scoring. To take on a Manchester City team who like a goal themselves will be interesting to see. And I think we've probably run out of time for today because there was a lot to discuss in a short space of time. Any final thoughts, words ahead of a game against Millwall? So I suppose we might speak on Monday and then
of course,
potentially go live if we beat Millwall.
Well, fingers crossed. Millwall's a big game, and that's why I'm not sure whether every game's a big game, but because we dropped points in the last one, I think Millwall was more of a must-win than it was, just to keep ahead of everyone and keep that gap. That's why I'm not 100% sure if he'll go full strength or even half strength in the Man City game. What I will say is I hope everyone going up enjoys it, and fingers crossed, at very least, we get a goal for everyone to celebrate. And there is the safe standing section at the bottom for yourself, Jack, and everyone else to try out. So I hope that it's a great atmosphere and a great day.
Marco Silva is currently doing his press conference for the game. We're recording this just Thursday afternoon. He's saying stuff about Fab being happy and whatever. I'm not going to go into it right now. I'm going to read it afterwards. But we would be remiss if we didn't mention Siriki Dembele to Bournemouth.
Yes.
It's the transfer.
That is true. We have called his name out quite a few times on this show.
Yes.
So him and about 25 others signed for Bournemouth on deadline day, and in a really bizarre day. Siriki Dembele, I think it's clear to see now that Parker was the big fan of him because we were only linked with him when he was our manager. Did I want him? Yes. Was I impressed when we played Peterborough? Yes. Do I think he gets anywhere near our starting 11? No. So
Cabano,
I think, and this might sound silly. Is he that much better than Caballero and Knockout? I don't know. Like, has he really shown it? I don't know. This may come back to bite me. If he does great for Bournemouth, fine, because he's looked good for Peterborough. But I don't know if that's a standout flair player in a poor side, because I think it could be. But, it's an end of an era, Jack. We can't call for us signing him anymore, or at least until the summer, if he falls out of Bournemouth. That was an interesting deadline day for Bournemouth. We didn't really touch on it, but 5 players in, it really looks like they've gone promotion or bust. Let's see what happens.
Scattergun Parker is what I'm going to call it from now on. I mean, it reeks of desperation. It reeks of we need to get a top 2 push back on the cards. And West Brom right now, sixth in the table with a game in hand, albeit. We will talk more West Brom and Bournemouth in the coming weeks because they are 2 teams who right now are in fascinating positions in the table and where they are in their championship lives. This has been the Jack and Joe Show. We really appreciate you watching. We'll see you at the next one. Joe, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jack. Thanks everyone for watching.
Yeah, we go again. If we beat Man City and Caballero or Knockout or Muniz manages to score, please be sensible. Do not run on the pitch and get yourself banned, although it would be extremely tempting. We're going to enjoy the day, hopefully. Can't wait to see my brothers up in Manchester as well because they're up at uni. It's always good to see them on the northern aways. We've got Millwall and then Hull away for those chips. We'll talk about it next week. Thanks very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and come on, Fulham.